Well, now I invite Mr. Shiv Shivakumar, operating partner at Advent International Gurgaon, an ex-chairman and CEO of PepsiCo India, an ex-CEO EM of Nokia, and he will address on the theme, the new globalization. So what do you, Mr. Shivakumar?
All right. Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and my apologies. I got stuck in a bad traffic jam, and that's why I'm doing this much later than what I should have been doing. Thank you, Subir, for inviting me. That's the reason I'm here. My friend Subir, he gave me adequate notice about a month ago to say, please come and do this session. And thank you for the invite. And I'm absolutely delighted to share with you my thoughts on what I call the new globalization. These are my thoughts. You're free to agree, disagree, have a comment, whatever it is, you're most welcome. Okay, first up, what I would say is that globalization will never go away. Globalization will never go away because natural resources, human capital, financial capital, economic strength, military strength are not distributed equally. As simple as that. Since they're not distributed equally, by definition, you have to partner. By definition, you have to rely on each other. By definition, you'll need each other. Okay, that's my first opening comment. Let me give you simple stats for that. Let's look at the top 10 countries in terms of exports. That's the box to the left-hand side. Let's look at the top 10 countries in terms of imports. That's the box to the right-hand side. Take the top 10 countries on services exports. Take the top 10 countries on services imports. If you take the top 10 countries and add it up, it comes to 50%. 50% of the total, exports is from the top 10 countries. 8 countries are on the common list. A lot of them Europeans, American, and Chinese. Now you look at services. India is on both lists. We are an exporter of services. We are also an importer of services. So point number one is that these 8 countries will need others. Others will need these 8 countries. It's as simple as that. And in services, which is a really big sector, which is opening now, thanks to digital technology, I think India can have a very significant part. I think that's going to be pretty big. So the efforts of the government to say we need manufacturing is absolutely correct. You can see it out there as to why we need manufacturing. So this is a simple point to illustrate. I can give you 20 other data points to simply illustrate that you live in a codependent world. That's all. Next, I want to place before you my views on globalization. I said there is new globalization. My views are based on, I believe there have been 10 event-stroke forces which have shaped globalization, some way or the other. Some fun facts and forces and some serious ones. These are the 10 I'm going to give you. First up, globalization started with immigration. When people started moving from one country to the other for whatever set of reasons. So anybody who's been to America will remember Ellis Island and the Statue of Liberty. Today, there are 300 million people on the immigration list anywhere in the world. The global population is 8 billion. So 4% of population is consistently on the move. Immigration. For various sets of reasons. There are a lot of people from Africa, there are a lot of people from various parts of the world moving here or there, either for better opportunities or whatever you want to call it. So there is 4% of people, and that is one part of globalization which you cannot take away. However, what's the challenge with that? The challenge with that is that today's globalization Everybody is very happy to have globalization as long as they don't have job losses. Why did Brexit happen? Why did Make America Great happen, etc.? Because people said, hey, you know, lower prices are fine, but I want to keep my job. That's absolutely critical. Globalization, where a country's jobs are being hurt, will not be acceptable to that country. Okay. Next, if people do not encourage migration or immigration or whatever you want to call it, then your retirement age has to go up. Because you cannot work with the same force at retirement age 58 or 60 when you're not getting in new people. So you have to perforce raise the retirement age. Next, if you do not allow either, then what happens to the ratio of workers to retirees? Who takes care of retirees? Okay, that ratio is a very important ratio in any economy because savings depends on that. So the new globalization will have to think of all these concepts. Number two, the reason why globalization also happened is global universities. You had universities for 400, 500, 600 years, like the Oxfords, the Cambridge, etc., who educated students in a neoliberal way, in a global thinking way. So today, if I were to look at it for India, I would say India needs to establish global standard educational institutions that benefit foreign students too, not just Indian students. We want to be a big power in the global world. We need to have global educational institutions of hallmark which students from across the world come and participate and say, hey, you know what? This is a great country. This is a great institute. That's today's globalization for you. Point number three, World War II. Anywhere in the world, if you go after World War II, if you saw Time magazine, Camel cigarettes, Coca-Cola can or bottle, and a double mint Wrigley's chewing gum, you can be 100% sure that the Americans were there. 100% sure. Because Coke and chewing gum was standard issue. The Time magazine was actually folded like this, used to be airdropped so that people could pick it and read it. Camel cigarettes were standard issue to the GIs. So wherever you find these four, that's Americanization for you. That was one part of globalization thanks to World War II. What does it mean for India? It means India needs to go up the value chain. Whether it's an Amul which moves up, a Boroline or a Borosil which moves up, or the Asian paints, or the Mysore sandal soap. Uniquely Indian. But we have to cater to many more markets tomorrow in order to get there. Point number four, Hollywood has been a huge influence of globalization. All of you have seen Hollywood movies, James Bond from the 1960s, Mission Impossible for the last 20 years, etc. One part of globalization has been led by entertainment. Let's look at where India is placed today. Today, Indian films, thanks to Natu Natu winning the Oscar, thanks to Bollywood's appeal across the world. Amir Khan's movie Dangal actually made 3 times more money in China than in India. If you go to anywhere in Europe, Eastern Europe, everybody will ask you, you know Shah Rukh Khan? If you're an Indian. You go to Egypt, everybody will ask you, do you know Amitabh Bachchan? As if he's your next door neighbor or something. So Indian movies have enormous appeal across the world. This is one part of globalization from India. Next, 1960s is when management concepts went global. 1960s. Drucker was there before that, but a lot of other people, management concepts went global. Today, the Indian management guru rules the roost. Some of the best colleges in the world, like Harvard, etc., the deans are from India. The last 2 deans are from India. Ram Charan is a prolific management guru. C.K. Prahlad, who's here, was one. So the gurudom of management is virtually defined by Indianness right now. Number 6, globalization came into effect in 1973 when the oil, shock happened. The moment oil shock happened, Japanese small cars flooded the world. Japan became a very big force in automobiles compared to where they were in electronics. Huge moment in globalization. America had to wake up to the fact that you needed new quality standards. Deming had to be relearned all over again. And Japan became the 2nd largest economy in the world. Okay, at that point of time. What does this mean for India in today's times? India is home to many auto accessories, many auto accessories. This can be a huge business for India, especially in the EV space. There's enormous opportunity waiting to happen for India to be part of the globalization bandwagon. Number 7, Ali versus Frazier. Huge sporting event, unheard of till then, in 1974. I'm talking about 50 years ago. It was watched by 1 billion people. It was called the Rumble in the Jungle in Zaire. There were many songs written about it. 1 billion people watched it in 1974. Okay, Ali won, in a close match. Today, 2 billion people watch an India-Pakistan match. This is one part of India's globalization. One part of India's power in a future world will come via cricket. This Cricket World Cup, which is being hosted in India, will generate 13,000 crores plus for India. Okay, that's the size of that market, not small, very, very big. Point number 8, Live Aid. I'm sure all of you saw this, 1985. When a whole continent was struck, Africa, you had music bands coming together and doing things for free. Who gained? The Queen, ABBA, Mark Knopfler, etc. They all played live, through the day, absolutely through the day. So today, one part of globalization is when countries are under trouble, when an earthquake happens somewhere, when a tsunami happens somewhere, everybody gets together to help them. That's another form of globalization, some form of philanthropy which works. Number 9, the Gulf War. 1991 was the first time we saw 24/7 news. I, for the first time, saw 24/7 news in 1991. I used to be an area sales manager for Hindustan Liver. I was staying in Dolphin Hotel, Vizag, and I switched it on and said, wow, I could see news 24/7. Okay. Now think about it. 1991 is when 24/7 coverage started. That's 9 plus 23, 32 years. Okay. You would think that something with progress, and I'm sure that there are members of the fourth estate here who will also think that things should progress. But what's happened with globalization? Trust in global media has dropped. Trust in global media has dropped. So, if you want, in the early days, people trusted BBC more than anything else. Today, most news corporations are not trusted because everything has gone local. Okay, this is an area, the fourth estate, every single channel across the world needs to seriously think about. Today, we have BBC Verify. Why is BBC Verify there? Because trust is down. So this is something in globalization terms in 32 years has gone backwards. Number 10, the GSM standard. The GSM standard in mobile phones started in 1990, around that time. Today, most of the world is in GSM standard, not CDMA. There's a very important reason why this is so and why it's important for globalization. Because communication and every single thing else on apps is now common across the world, thanks to the GSM standard. Let me give you examples of price of non-standardization in globalization. Left-hand drive versus right-hand drive is non-standardization. All PowerPoint plugs are non-standardization. All phone chargers are non-standardization. So my point is, anybody who is influential here in this audience, push for common global standards if you want globalization. And India must be part of that. A very good example which is happening right now is cloth size. In India today, there is no standard size for women today as I speak to you. No one brand has the same size as the other brand. The Indian government is putting down standards to say this will be the new classification for clothes in India for both men and women. So standardization is a very important element of globalization. If you do not standardize, then you'll do things in your own way and be inefficient and you'll not get the benefits of scale. Today, nationalism is significantly more important than regionalism, which is significantly more important than globalism. All three are important. Every country, every leader accepts that a country needs to do what's right for that country first, and then next, what's right for the region, and then what rights for global. If you look at Asia Pacific as an example, the investment in Asia Pacific by Japan, by India, by South Korea within Asia has gone up significantly in the last 20 years. Significantly. Almost all the metro trains, almost all the trains that you see today are produced in Asia for Asia today. Okay, so nationalism is in everywhere. Let me give you scores on nationalism. My country is the best. People saying my country is the best, nationalism. USA, 41% of employees say my country is the best. India is number 2. 36% of people say India is the best. Look at that list. Up to number 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1/4 of the country's population says my country is the best. One of the reasons for this is social media, mobile phones. One of the reasons. There's so much news out there, and almost all search, 96% of all search is local. It's not global. It's local, deeply local. In Raebareli, when we did studies, they wanted to know who was the MP, who was the MLA in 1950. They were not interested in anything else. Local news dominates. So that's why nationalism scores not surprising. And nationalism over the last 3 years has gone up more than gone down. Second, soft power is very important. If you look at the countries with the highest soft power today, in 2023, this is a 2023 index, America is 1 at about 75 score, UK 2 at 67, Germany 66, Japan 65, China 65, France 62, Canada 61, Italy 56, UAE 55. India is number 28 at 47. India's always had a lot of soft power, but we need to translate it into a better score. Yoga has been a soft power for us. Management education has been a soft power for us. Management gurus have been a soft power for us. Okay. Films have been a soft power for us. Music has been a soft power for us. Cricket has been a soft power. We need to use it. The Harvard professor Joseph Nye was the one who coined the concept of soft power. India for years had soft power, but did not have hard power. Today, economically, we have hard power. We're a $3.5 trillion economy. As we move up on the soft power, that is a combination which will be difficult to beat. So that's an area, again, the new globalization demands soft power. Let's look at passport strength. And I'll talk about CBI, which is not the CBI that you're thinking. Okay. Passport strength. Which country's passport is accepted in other countries without advance notice? Like you can arrive and have visa on arrival. As an example, you don't need to tell them. Singapore is number 1 at 192, Germany at 190. This is also part of soft power. Japan at 189, USA at 184, China is number 64 at 80, India is number 83 at 57. There are 210 countries in the world, roughly, give or take. Okay, so we are free to travel to about 1/4 of the countries. That's our soft power today at a level. Passport strength has to go up. CBI is citizenship by investment. Okay, this is something that most countries are now opening up. Turkey is the leader in this. Citizenship by investment. Okay, where everybody says you invest in this country and we'll give you citizenship or residency or whatever it is. Okay, that's a new form of globalization which we see. And a lot of Indians are actually taking that in the UAE and other places. Unfortunately for globalization, one of the downsides of globalization of the last 30 years, faith in global institutions is dropping. You cannot have globalization if faith in institutions and faith in rules of institutions does not come through. So it's very important for all the big countries to sit down together and say, how do we strengthen governance of the big institutions like the United Nations? United Nations is at the forefront and a better example. Most other institutions like IMF, World Bank, etc. are lower on scores, believe it or not today, globally. So, what is the new globalization about? And this is my last chart, and I'll finish in exactly 20 minutes. 1, national interests matter. That is a new theme. National interests matter. Nobody is shy of expressing national interests. Number 2, you need regional cooperation, you need regional alliances. You need the ASEAN, you need the other stuff. Okay? Regional cooperation and alliances matter. Number 3, digital power today is with citizens. It's not with government, it's not with editors, it's not with regulators, it's with citizens. Number 4, soft power matters. Soft power is a combination of all the things you do to make the country more amenable, more attractive to people. And finally, in the new globalization, we see activist consumers, we see activist investors. For example, take somebody like Greta Thunberg. She's a 17, 18-year-old girl see what she's achieved in the area of climate by holding to account many senior leaders. She is an activist in that sense. You will see many more activists in a global world simply because the GSM standard and the apps allow for that global broadcasting. It's no longer controlled by a bunch of few people. Okay. So that's all I have to say, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for your time and attention. It was wonderful to put this together for you.